Hi everyone and welcome to Danka Praktik. If you'd like to make and enjoy some homemade bread, this video should help. Knowing how to make bread is useful, it's pretty simple and easy to do and won't take much of your time. So stay tuned.
Danka Praktik.
Besides using an electric stove, you can also use a wood burning stove to make some homemade bread, but also to cook other meals. If you want to see how to use a wood burning stove, click on the card in the corner to watch the video. You can also find the links to all the videos regarding this topic in the description. Before we start, I would like to mention that for this bread we've used yeast and bread flour that is made from wheat. Please have these ingredients in mind if you're going to serve the bread to someone that may have certain allergies or intolerances to these ingredients. For baking bread, you'll need 750 grams of bread flour, a batch of fresh yeast, about 12 grams in this case, 30 grams of salt, about 2 tablespoons, 1 teaspoon of sugar, half a liter of warm water, and some vegetable oil or lard. Regarding the dishes, all you'll need is a metal baking pan, a measuring cup, and some bigger and smaller plastic dishes for mixing the dough and yeast. For handling the hot baking pan and bread, you can use oven gloves or a kitchen cloth. First, put 750 grams of flour in the dish. Add 2 tablespoons of salt. Next, prepare the yeast. In this case, we're using fresh baking yeast, which we recommend for better results, but you can also use dry yeast. Put 12 grams, half of the packaging we're using in this case, in a smaller dish filled with 2 deciliters of warmer water. Add a teaspoon of sugar. Mix the yeast and wait for about 5 minutes. The yeast is ready when it gets a foam-like layer on the surface. You can wrap the rest of the yeast in some foil and use it for future baking. Pour the yeast into the flour and start mixing. Add warm water. You can use a mixer for this, of course, but we recommend using your hands as the effect is much better. If the dough is too sticky, add some flour to it. As you mix, you'll see the dough forming. When mixing, use circular motion and sort of fold the dough into the center. When you're finished, you should get a soft and a little bit sticky batch of dough. You can leave the dough in the dish which you used for mixing. Cover it with a kitchen cloth. Now leave the dough to rise for about half an hour. As an additional tip, if you want the dough to rise faster, use another dish filled with warm water and put it under the dish with the dough. The heat from the water will significantly speed up the process of rising. In fact, the dough should be ready in about 15 minutes. First, grease the baking pan. You can use vegetable oil or lard. Spread it around the baking pan so it is well greased. In this case, we're using lard for greasing the pan and oil for greasing the dough. Before putting the dough in the pan, put some oil on it and then knead and mix the dough until it's less sticky. Next, form the loaves. The size and shape of the loaves is up to you, but we recommend that you make a size that is convenient for later cutting, using and storage. In this case, we'll make 2 loaves. While making the loaves, you can use some oil to handle the dough easier. Once you're finished, again leave the dough to rise some more. Once more, you can use warm water to make the dough rise faster. You don't have to cover it this time since the dough is greasy. Next, set the oven to 250 degrees Celsius. It would be best to wait some time for the oven to heat up and gain the needed temperature. In this case, it takes about 5 minutes, but it all depends on what kind of oven you have. Once the oven is heated up, put the bread inside. The baking takes about 45 minutes, but again, this depends on the oven. We recommend that you be near the oven during the baking and pay attention to what's happening. The first half hour of the baking should be at 250 degrees. After that, pull out the baking pan and the bread should look like this. It should slide within the baking pan. After this, lower the oven temperature to about 200 degrees and leave the bread for another 15 minutes. These time values are a good but pretty rough estimate. To prevent burning, best, besides watching the clock, watch the color of the crust while baking. Once you're finished, use the oven glove or kitchen cloth and take out the bread from the baking pan and put it in a place where the loaves can cool down. In this case, we'll put it on a smaller pot so it can cool down faster. When the baking is over, the end result should look something like this. If everything is okay, you'll get a nice, crispy, yellowish upper crust, a lower softer crust, and an inside which is well baked, dry, and pillow soft. If the inside isn't like this, but is moist and sticky, then it probably isn't well baked for some reason, and best don't eat it. For the end, from this recipe you should get about 1.5 kilograms of fresh baked bread. Depending on how much you eat bread, it should be enough for a couple of days. So that's it for this time. We hope the video helps and that you'll be able to enjoy some good homemade bread. Please like and subscribe, it's a huge help for what we're doing. Thanks for watching and thanks for your time.